GMax Butterfree is making its Pokemon Go debut during its own Max Battle Day, and GMax battles are some of the most difficult battles in the game, but by the end of this video you'll know the best counters, tips and strategies for taking this Pokemon down as easily as possible. I'll also be going through how you can get up to 8 free battles on the day. So the event takes place on August 3rd between 2 PM and 5 PM local time, but what exactly does the event have to offer? Well, for the bonuses, GMax Butterfree will be appearing at all power spots and it will cost 800 max particles to battle it. The max particle collection limit will increase to 1600, power spots will refresh more frequently, you'll get 8 times max particles from power spots, and you'll get 2 additional special trades. These bonuses will be active during the 3 hours of the event, but there are some more bonuses that will be active between 12 AM and 5 PM on the day. During this time you will get 2 times max particles from walking, and it'll only require a quarter of the normal distance to get these max particles. For these 2 bonuses to apply specifically, you do need to first collect all max particles available in your nearby menu. The remote raid limit will also be increased to 20 from August 2nd at 5 PM until the 3rd at 8 PM PDT. So you will be able to do 20 remote raids on each of these days. You could use this increased remote raid limit to battle more GMax Butterfree or any of these Pokemon that are available at the same time. And these aren't the only bonuses you can get access to for this event, because you do also have the option of purchasing a $5 ticket that will get you a max mushroom, 25,000 XP, and you'll get the following bonuses: 2 times XP from max battles, and the max particle collection limit will be further increased to 5,600. This ticket is also available on the Pokemon Go web store for the same price, but you will also get a bonus max particle pack, which is enough for another GMax Butterfree battle. So if you are looking to buy this ticket, make sure you pick it up from the web store. There is also another way you can get 800 free max particles that aren't affected by the collection limit, and I will be going through this toward the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. You will also get a free timed research starting from July 28th at 6 AM local time that will get you an encounter with Max Darmanitan, some candy, and some max particles to help you take on GMax Butterfree. And I highly recommend holding on to these max particles. Don't claim them until the Max Battle Day. You'll then be able to use it for GMax Butterfree battles. And the RSVP system is coming to Max Battles starting from August 1st, so it'll be just in time for this event. If you don't know what that is, it's essentially a planner that allows trainers to see when and where other trainers are planning to do upcoming raids and max battles. To do this, when you check a gym for a raid or you check a power spot for a max battle, there is a little option on the right hand side of the raid button. Tapping on this will allow you to select a time that you plan to be at a raid, and other trainers can see when you plan to be there through the nearby menu on the RSVP tab. You can also invite friends to that time slot that you've RSVP'd. So this system will be especially helpful for Gigantamax battles, which generally do need more players and communication. So what are the best strategies that you can use to ensure victory against this Pokemon so you're not wasting resources? Well, there are a couple of useful strategies that you can use, but first you do need to know about the roles tanks, healers, and attackers, and what makes a Pokemon good in these roles. So briefly, a tank is a Pokemon that has high defenses and a typing that resists most of the attacks the max battle boss can do, so overall it can take less damage. It can also be a max guard user, which gives it more health in the form of shields, and it can taunt the max battle boss to attack it more than it attacks others in the party. Good tanks often have low animation fast attacks, moves like Water Gun and Bite for example, that have 0.5 second animation times that allow them to charge the max meter faster than other slower moves. This is particularly helpful for strategies where you use the tank to build the max meter fast, then during the Dynamax phase you swap into your attacker and use its max attacks, and then swap back into the tank and repeat. Now healers can be pretty similar to tanks. You want them to take less damage and resist attacks, but also as they're going to be max spirit users, you do want them to have a high stamina stat. This is because max spirit heals an amount that is a percentage of the user's HP. So the higher the max spirit user's HP, then the bigger the heal will be. This means Pokemon like Max Blissey and Wailmer are very good for this role with their very high HP stats. And lastly, for attackers, you want Pokemon that has a type advantage over the max battle boss with strong, super effective moves and a high attack stat. Their goal is to do as much damage as possible. And I will be going through which Pokemon are best for these roles for GMax Butterfree battles in a moment. And a quick bonus tip for further preparing against the GMax boss is that they can actually do 2 types of attacks, which will be chosen from the Pokemon's charged attack move pool. One attack is a large attack that hits all Pokemon, and this one can't be dodged, and the second is a direct attack on a specific Pokemon that can be dodged by keeping an eye on the attack feed and the 3 lines that appear above your Pokemon's head. And if you do encounter an attack combination that is particularly difficult to deal with, you can always get everybody to back out of the lobby and re-lobby to re-roll the moveset. This is helpful if your team has certain counters counters that work better against certain movesets. And later on in the video, I will be going through which attacks GMax Butterfree can do, which are best to avoid, and which tanks are best to take on which moves. So GMax Butterfree can be shiny from these battles, and the 100% IV CP value you're looking out for is 1044. It's a bug and flying type, therefore it is weak to electric, fire, flying, ice, and double weak to rock type attacks. And it will use 2 of the following moves in battle: Bug Buzz, Signal Beam, and Psychic. And for tanks, there are a few options. Firstly, Crown Shield Zamazenta with Metal Claw will be the best choice. It double resists bug type attacks, and it starts with a max guard shield already active if it has max guard rank 1 unlocked. So definitely worth doing this if you haven't already. Crown Zacian with Metal Claw is also an option, with it also double resisting bug type attacks. We also have Max Corviknight with Sand Attack, which could also be used because again it does double resist bug type attacks. And as always, Max Blissey with Pound is an option, and its performance isn't too dissimilar to Corviknight and Zacian, and there is probably a good chance you do have a Max Blissey already powered up, because it is a good tank for pretty much anything. It's generally worth taking 2 tanks into battle, and any combination of these tanks will be ideal. And if you did decide to use a healer, I would recommend Max Blissey being the best healer in the game. Also Snorlax and Excadrill could be options here as well, because they have pretty decent HP stats. And for attackers, the best will be GMax Cinderace with Fire Spin, then GMax Toxtricity with Spark, GMax Charizard with Air Slash, Max Star Manatan with Fire Fang for Max Flare, Max Zapdos with Charge Beam for Max Lightning, and Max Moltres with Wing Attack for Max Airstream. And that leads us to the question of how many trainers will it take to beat this max battle boss? Well, with Butterfree's stats not being very good compared to many other GMax Pokemon, it will likely be easier than many because it won't be hitting as hard and it won't have as good defense. But it is still hard to tell exactly how many trainers will be required until it goes live, but we do have some really strong attackers in the game now, so it is going to be a bit easier. I would probably recommend around 10 trainers, but this will be less if you have good communication and strategy. However, if you are remote raiding into these raids, I would recommend having at least 20 in your lobby, because you don't know what kind of counters these trainers will use. And I'm looking at you, Wooloo trainers. And also it is more difficult to communicate with them. And remember, once the battle has started, that remote raid pass is locked to that specific raid. So you can try the raid again if you fail, but you can't take the remote raid from that battle and use it somewhere else. Worth noting as well, whilst expensive to purchase, Max Mushrooms do double your damage output, so a great item to use if you don't have a big group of people to do these battles with. You can also further increase your damage output by 5% if you use Crown Zacian's Behemoth Blade Adventure effect. Alternatively, you could use Crown Zamazenta's Behemoth Bash Adventure effect to increase defense by 5%. And whilst you can't leave Zacian and Zamazenta at power spots to get more candy because they're not Max or GMax Pokemon, you can leave other useful counters like Max Blissey, GMax Cinderace, and GMax Toxtricity to get candy to power them up and their max moves up. And there is a certain way you can use your candy to make sure you get the most out of your resources, because it can be tricky to decide whether to power up your Pokemon first or to power up their max moves. So the best order of importance is to fully evolve the Pokemon first if you can, then power it up to level 30, because after this the amount of resources to level it up becomes a lot more steep and a lot less worth it. Once at level 30 you can then begin powering up your max moves, and after that you should power up your Pokemon to level 40 or 50. Doing it this way will get the most out of your resources. But how can you even tell your Pokemon is at level 30? Well, one of the easier ways to tell is through the Stardust cost for powering them up. If you get to the point where the next Stardust cost requires 5,000 Stardust, that is level 29, so if you power up 2 more times it will reach level 30. Then you can focus on leveling up your max moves. But are these GMax Butterfree max battles even worth doing? Well, GMax Butterfree will be the best bug type attacker for max battles, but due to its relatively low attack stat, it will be outclassed by other bug type max Pokemon in the future. And do note that the bug type doesn't see a lot of play because generally their stats do tend to be lower than other types on average. This means that if there is a type that bug deals super effective damage to, usually there is another Pokemon from another type that is super effective as well that will be used instead because it has a higher attack stat. And outside of max battles, Butterfree doesn't have any meta relevance either. So GMax Butterfree is generally going to be a one and done for the GMax decks unless you're shiny hunting it. And data does seem to suggest that GMax Pokemon do have a 1 in 20 shiny rate like legendary Pokemon do from 5-star raids, so bear that in mind. However, having said that, it may not be much of a relevant Pokemon, but there are some reasons why you might want to do multiple of these Butterfree battles. And that is because of the amount of Stardust and XP you get from each battle. So if you can do a few of these GMax battles, I would recommend having a star piece active while you do them, because they do give 25,000 Stardust per battle, which will be 37.5 thousand with a star piece. And if you have the coins, you could also spend 200 coins to double up your rewards to get 75,000 Stardust per battle. And not only that, but these battles are a great way to get XP as well. Each GMax battle gives 25,000 XP, which will be 50k with a lucky egg and 100k if you double up the rewards with 200 poker coins. And if you complete these GMax battles in person, you do get an extra 2,500 700 XP for winning. And you might actually want candy for Butterfree from these battles because Caterpie only requires 12 candy to evolve, so having a lot of Caterpie in your storage and the candy to go with them is beneficial during 2x evolution XP spotlight hours with a lucky egg active. So it's always worth using peanut berries when catching it, and you can mega evolve a bug or a flying type Pokemon to increase the amount of candy, Candy XL and XP you get per Butterfree catch. For this you could mega evolve Charizard into the Y form, Beedrill, Pidgeot, Pinsir, Aerodactyl, Scizor, Heracross, Salamence, Rayquaza, or you could revert Kyogre. And remember to mega evolve whichever of these you do have at the max mega level to get more candy, XP and chance for Candy XL. And due to overlapping events, if you happen to be near a city biome, keep an eye out for Trubbish, which is spawning due to Adventure Week, because it is a Stardust boosted Pokemon that gives 750 Stardust per catch. Likewise, because of the overlapping Sweet Swarm event, you will be able to encounter Combee in the wild via lure modules and in field research. And this Pokemon is a Stardust boosted Pokemon as well that gives 750 Stardust per catch. So if you do use Star Pieces whilst battling GMax battles, I do recommend having an auto catcher catching Pokemon in the background as well. And if you have the resources to do so, you could use White QM's Iceburn Adventure effect to increase the catch rate of Pokemon by 50%. And this will work with Pokemon caught via the auto catcher as well. But how many of these GMax Butterfree battles can you realistically do with them costing 800 max particles each? So it will take a few days prep, but if you can collect just under 1500, around 1480 for example, over a couple of days, and then claim 300 from walking, you will be able to get close to 1800. This is enough for 2 battles. Then on the day, the collection limit does increase to 1600, but you can collect 2240 by collecting max particles from a new power spot, giving you 820 particles, then claim 600 from walking. You can then do 2 more battles, collect 820 from another new power spot, and then do another battle. And you can save max particles from the timed research, which is 1400. You can then do 1 more battle and you'll have 620 max particles left over. You could also hold on to your max particles in the monthly go pass and not claim them until this day, because like max particle packs and max particles from the timed research, they don't count towards the collection limit. Holding on to 200 will allow you to get your 7th battle of the day. So that is 7 GMax Butterfree battles that you can get for free if you're maximizing your particles. However, you can get another free max particle pack to do your 8th battle by joining a community ambassador meetup. To do this, you do need to head to the Niantic Campfire app and check your local area on the map to see if there's a meetup being specifically held by a community ambassador for this event. Then if you go to the meetup, you can check in via the Niantic Campfire app and you will receive a timed research. These timed researches do differ depending on the type of event you're meeting up for, and for a max battle event in particular, you will get 5000 XP for winning 2 max battles, 5 Great Balls for catching a max Pokemon, 2000 Stardust for powering up a Pokemon 10 times, and for completing all of these tasks, you will get 800 max particles. And if you want to know what else is going on in August in Pokemon Go, then I recommend checking out these videos on the screen next.